until 10 o'clock. Coming up over the next hour, who knows? The 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock hour all week has really just been whatever the hell anybody wants, they can go and do it. And that's what we're going to do.
Goddamn Christmas, Nathan.
Manchester City 0, Liverpool 0. 3 minutes gone, but chances for both Erling Haaland and Darwin Núñez inside the first 90 seconds. Haaland got in behind, fired over the top of the crossbar. Núñez got in behind, had a shot blocked, resulted in a corner, but it came to nothing. Two relatively strong sides out on the pitch. Caoimhín Kelleher in goal for Liverpool.
Is that new on the side, the board?
The board, the advertising hoarding. No, they brought that in for Champions League games. It's basically a double-sized advertising hoarding. So they bought that in for Champions League games, which I think is a requirement.
They have in
more
Italy.
Advertising space.
It's like that in
And
Italy.
Manchester City have kept it for Premier League games as well. I wonder, is it because it takes up a few extra seats in the stadium, if you were being very cynical?
It doesn't look
It's all very modern, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't look very nice.
It doesn't look very nice at all. So Mick McCarthy, senior producer extraordinaire, what's the plan for the next hour?
Is Arthur not producing the show tonight? We are going to... Look, Nathan, me and Arthur had a discussion last night on the show that about our top moments of the year. You were kind of spouting on about your memories of the year and how you wanted to contribute, and I was like, you know what, that was an unfinished conversation. There's so much sport to talk about. We dug into, we had a big long conversation about Italy and Wales in the Six Nations last night. There's so much to get into, so we said, why not have your personal top 10 moments of the of 2022, and sure, we can chat as we go. And also then I do notice that there is a draft board on.
Well, that's because I have 9 sporting moments of the year, but my 10th is about to happen tonight. So Arthur O'D, producer this evening, is an extraordinary talented individual. He has this year written the sports book of the year.
Yeah, not officially, but
not officially, but it's just an outrage.
By any of the many companies who organise Sports Book of the Year
How many
awards.
Sports Book of the Year titles are there? You didn't manage to win any of them. Let's see.
But he's been in a lot of write-ups, I would say, about. Look, my favourite Sports Book of the Year, Nathan.
You weren't unsure whether you wanted to talk about this, but you said genuinely it is your favourite.
I just said if we did a different segment where we talked about our favourite book of the year, favourite film of the year, so etc. I said my favourite book of the year is Arthur's book, and I would think he might get a little bit awkward if I kind of went.
He's looking awkward right now. I'm going to read it over Christmas. I promise you, Arthur.
What?
I'm going to read your book over Christmas.
Come on.
I'm going to make a bit of space in my Christmas period and see what
Limerick
the fuss is all
biography in 9 lives, I think, just in case anybody's wondering what we're talking about.
I don't think anyone's wondering at this stage what we're talking about.
Remember you told us we weren't doing enough promotion for your book there a while ago?
Bloody hell, it's relentless, isn't it? I hope you're getting a bonus for all this free
Too
publicity.
late now anyway.
Have you signed up for a second book yet?
No, nothing yet.
Opened offers?
Opened offers, yeah. No, nothing
23?
yet.
Limerick football, the future. I suppose there would be actually a lot of people. Tomorrow, I tell you, is the last, in my youth, I would have done all my Christmas shopping on the 23rd, and it would have often flowed over into the 24th. So I'd imagine people are still doing that.
Oh, no, absolutely. There'll be an awful lot. Tomorrow's probably the busiest shopping day of the year.
Well, there's a good Limerick book.
Get yourself in and buy Limerick, a biography.
Even if you're not from Limerick.
Just do it anyway.
Do it anyway. So, as well as being an incredibly talented author, Arthur informed us a few weeks ago, a PhD, which he does, of course, doesn't like to mention that. Yet here we are. He is a community games champion.
Yeah.
Not in athletics, not even in discus throwing, not in art, not in any of the main disciplines, you would have to say.
It's part of the arts.
Is it?
No, probably not.
Is it a sport or an art?
Not art like Jack B. Yeats winning an Olympic medal in art.
Close enough. Arthur is a drafts champion.
Yeah, it was a team, I hasten to add. It was a team of 5.
Jeez,
I said that
you
from the
weren't so
beginning.
keen to mention them at the start, but now it's a shared effort. What year did you win the Community Games Drafts Championship?
Oh, good question. It was under 12.
Under 12, okay.
So I was born in 91.
So we go
it
about
must have been about
2002.
2002, around 2002,
okay.
I'd say.
And what village
Great
were
year
you
for Irish
representing?
sport. Arthur won the drafts and Saipan happened.
Saipan, yeah. Corrigia was the parish.
Okay, and who were the big rivals in Sligo?
We
didn't have any rivals.
I don't want to sound too. We got out of it a lot, you know what I mean. We're not. I'm not joking about that. That we have there's at least 5 or 6 county medals. So that's
There'd be a strong drafts tradition in the village. Yeah.
I mean, like, look,
Sligo Hurling, a biography in 9 lives. Sligo Draughts.
Drafts, I would say. Yeah. Hurling.
Mark away,
You've lost it, Nathan. You're really trying to get out of here.
I am trying to get out of here. So you've 1 gold medal, 1 silver medal, is it?
No, 1 gold, 1 bronze.
1 gold, 1 bronze.
Yeah, bronze 2 years before, a year or 2 before.
Wow. Okay.
Spurred us on, you know.
So I which I'm
What
regretting.
happened after under 12?
What?
It doesn't run any further.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
You can't progress to senior level.
We peaked, just like David Clifford yesterday.
Is it
can't
part
get
of
out
the
Ireland.
GEA drafts? Is it an Irish sport?
No, I don't think so. No,
Okay.
not that I know of.
They call it checkers in the States.
They do. Maybe that's where it was invented. Why do we call it drafts here?
No idea.
I would have thought you'd bring a bit more knowledge to this, to be quite honest, to make it a more interesting segment. Anyways,
Well, he didn't know it was coming.
No, to be
no,
fair.
I found a drafts board at home today, and I said, you know what, I'm going to bring this in, and I'm going to take this bad boy down.
Great radio.
That is what is about to happen. So we'll
I
have our
to
chat about our
commentate on it. I
sports.
don't know the
yeah.
We'll
rules.
have our chat about our sports while this is going on.
You have
How
the
long
numbers.
does an average drafts game take?
Depends. And who's playing? Like,
Depends on
you
how
know what I
quickly
mean?
I
Like,
beat
Do you feel this could be over in about 5 minutes?
well, it depends. Like,
It's going to be
we do have
difficult now.
keep
Now that I
talking.
think about it, to both concentrate and to keep talking. Sports moments of the year. Then, what I did was go back through my phone and my photographs to see was there anything I was at that really stood out. And one of them that I had almost forgotten about, and in many ways my highlight of the entire year. I'm going to put it in on my top 10.
Okay.
The only time all year I've been nervous until right now playing this drafts game. Only time in about 5 years I've been nervous interviewing someone.
Oh.
Meeting
Your
the
man.
great Jordan Spieth at the JP McManus Pro-Am.
Yeah.
I was nervous because never has a man not wanted to do an interview as much as Jordan Spieth didn't want to do that interview. I'd met him earlier in the day, twice, and he was both going for breakfast and going for lunch. And then as he was leaving the scorer's hut after his round, where as it was such a good interview, I didn't even realise he'd been disqualified from the tournament.
You could be disqualified from the JP.
You can be
Pro-Am.
disqualified from the JP Pro-Am, which I hadn't realised he had just been disqualified. I cornered him and forced him to spend 5 minutes, 5 beautiful minutes in my company.
It's an interview we've all heard about, Nathan, but no, few of us have heard.
Wow. Wow, that's harsh.
What was he disqualified for?
Awesome. I think he might
Cheating
have.
in the crappy quiz.
I think he
that's
didn't
you.
finish a hole. He didn't realise that the players were playing an individual competition as well as the team competition, and picked his ball up without holding it.
So he was upset about this.
No, he wasn't at all.
Oh, okay,
It
right.
wasn't at all. It was fine. Manchester
That
City
wasn't the
won,
reason he didn't
Liverpool
want to
nil.
talk to you.
Football is back. Erling Haaland has scored. He's done one
24th
of those.
goal of the season.
He's,
I think it said
done one
there,
of those
didn't
karate kick finishes. It was a ball from the right hand side. It was, as I say, a kind of typical Haaland karate kick. Volleys it into the back of the net.
it? That can't be right, was it? 24?
24 goals,
24th
yeah.
goal of the season. It's not even Christmas, and they just had 5 weeks off.
Yeah. You see, this is what the World Cup
24th
is.
goal of the season.
This is what the World Cup has done to your brain. You've completely forgotten that, despite everything we've seen over the past month, Erling Haaland might be the best footballer in the world right now.
As will somebody on the yet to be recorded
Who's
crappy
going
quiz
first?
You fire away there, go on.
Okay,
so,
I'm going to make my first move. I feel already like that was a bad move.
He's
I've
moved. He's in his head now because. By the way, the reason this came out, we've actually missed the headline on this. The reason this came about is, as Arthur takes the first move, just casual, right? Nathan said when this drafts thing came up that I'd beat you in drafts. And it wasn't that Arthur kind of went, oh, well, of course, you know, we give it a go. It was that it was his definitive response of, no, you wouldn't. Never in 100 years you wouldn't beat me in drafts. You have no chance. And that's where this came up. Nathan's been determined ever since.
Jump me there, please.
They've
Now he's played a psychological trick on me.
he's baiting him in. We can't.
He's made a move that I can now, my white can now jump his black.
has
But
to,
that is
has
most
to.
definitely going to open up something painful for me.
It doesn't,
I
it's
just
fine.
know it.
It's
He's
fine.
lured
You have
you.
to. You
You've
have to.
tricked me into something.
You have to jump it.
So Jordan
Don't have
Spieth
to do
anyway,
anything.
Nathan, while you're
You
waiting
can
to
jump
go
it.
there,
I
right?
can- okay.
You have to, because I said jump.
What?
That's part of the rules. I mean, it is part. We you know, we can take it. If I say it, you have to do it. If the position is there for
Oh,
it
is
to
that
be done.
true?
Yeah,
What?
100%.
You
here-
could be making these things
Sorry, I
up.
have the rules here right in
Five,
front of me.
three-
How to play.
5316. Sorry, the rules on the MB draft board.
I mean,
Can we show the viewers what the draft board that you brought in is to a professional drafts player?
There's our draft board. Where are we?
Why are they different
The
colours?
professional. You can't. Oh, sorry, you say jump and I say how high.
No, you just like high as you want, but it just has to go over it. It's like these are the rules. I'm not going to lie to you. Good man there. Take that black piece there with you.
Okay.
53106 here. Is there any text about this, the rules of drafts? No.
Sorry, you're allowed to go this way to that way to that way.
Of course you are. God almighty.
This is
Nathan, you thought you
outrageous.
could beat a world Irish champion, but you didn't know the rules.
Well, I think you'll find it's 2-2 at the moment, Mick. You weren't impressed with Jordan Spieth.
Your level of 1 to 100.
The JP McManus program was a great couple of days. Got to spend a good 3 hours just stalking Tiger Woods.
Is this about you personally?
No, I just thought of this when you asked me.
Okay.
Well, otherwise I'm just going to be repeating all the things that you had last night,
fine.
which were
I'm
all
just
the
saying
obvious things.
No, but actually, because it was an interesting gambit, I thought, or to borrow the chess phrase from a game of drafts, about the JP McManus Pro-Am and the madness that surrounded that being an interesting couple of days in Irish sport. But then you just brought it immediately back to you and how you hung around with golfers for a couple of days.
That's the only reason anyone goes to the JP McManus Pro-Am. What are your interesting thoughts on the JP McManus Pro-Am?
Nothing. I just thought that you might have some. It felt like it was. It feels like it gets bigger all the time, and it feels like it is this weird thing that in a non-competitive environment, the entire world's golfing elite gather in Limerick for a couple of days.
It is absolutely insane, the quality of the field that he gets. So you could go and watch, as I was coming back from Tiger Woods to see could I get some interviews. Bryson DeChambeau was coming down the 18th and there was 50 people along the entire 18th at Adair Manor as Bryson DeChambeau was teeing off.
Yeah, because he was just one of 20 or 30.
So you could go and see a world number 10. You could go and see a world number 1 probably at the time, as Scotty Scheffler, not be surrounded by thousands of people. But there's something about Tiger that even in that company, he is still so many steps ahead.
It's concerning for golf, isn't it?
It is, and we recorded our Golf Weekly end of year review today, and talking about Tiger's re-emergence over the last few weeks at the PNC, which is the father and son competition, and the week before that he played in the match where it was himself and Rory McIlroy against Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. And I feel that we're going to see a lot of that the PGA Tour and the television companies are going to try and come up with as many exhibitions or new style competitions to get Tiger Woods into them that aren't 72 holes, him having to walk around.
Yeah.
So you just have to look
That's
at Golf
interesting,
Channel over the last couple of weeks. It is wall-to-wall Tiger. The PGA Tour treated the father and son like a normal golf tournament. In fact, I'd say they had more coverage last week than they did of some of the regular events over the course of the year. But it was all Tiger and his son. It's very strange, the analysis as the two of them limped along the fairway together at one stage.
Was the son limping?
The son also had an injury and bizarrely has the exact same limp.
Oof.
Weird, okay.
Is it my go or your go?
It's your go.
Where did you go?
I just went there. Just there.
Okay.
There's also, a nameless person has texted in, he's right, you cannot renege. So, renege.
You can't renege on
and
jumping.
if someone says jump, so that's just
But
for
don't be
future
afraid
reference.
to tell him to jump as
I
well.
won't be afraid.
Yeah.
To tell him
Just
to
make
jump.
sure he's allowed to do it legally.
I just don't know when he will be jumping. Is my problem.
Yeah, well, there you go.
At the Tigers event in what's that called?
Bahamas, the Hero World Challenge.
That's it, a couple of weeks ago. I saw more coverage. Now, in fairness, it was an incredible shot by, I think, Matt Fitzpatrick or someone, when they hit the ball out into the, a hole, a trash can in the middle of the ocean or whatever it is that they do. There was one shot, but it was very much this is our coverage because this is where Tiger's wearing his golf gear and playing and got a golf club in his hand and he's all part of this and it's happy clappy stuff and it's way less about the tournament. I do feel like you can only get away with that at a certain time of year though. Like I don't think the week after the Masters there's going to be father and son Tiger competitions,
No, but golf has a big problem right now, or maybe it's not a problem, maybe they're accepting of it, that the year is divided into the first 3.5 months, which is the build up to the Masters, which I think golf fans really enjoy, where particularly in the coming year they have these new elevated events. All the best players in the PGA Tour are going to play in the same 4 or 5 tournaments in the build up to the Masters across those 3 months. Then you've got this insane rush of the 4 majors in the space of 4.5 months, and then really the season is done. There's a bit of European Tour golf.
There's a lot of money to be won.
There's a lot of money to be made, but it's all exhibition golf, and I think anyone who's not into their golf more or less switches off.
I hate them moving the PGA. Moving the PGA was the worst move they did for. Again, I've many times I've talked about this week. I'm very, I cling on very tightly to the sporting calendar as I once knew it. But I do also think it shortens the season massively. You know, the PGA, I know it was never the biggest event, and the Open felt like the last one, but it was still another major, like 3-4 weeks later. That's gone now. It's just August. It seems like it's just a non-golf month, I have to say.
Well, the Open
Ryder
finishes
Cup,
the middle of
obviously,
July,
years
but
will
there's
change
going to be a
things.
big gap again because the Open finishes middle of July. The Ryder Cup is until the first weekend in October.
There'll be qualifying and all. Ryder Cup
Will be,
years are
but
slightly different.
Slightly
in fairness,
different. I think Live Golf has definitely been one of, in a way, weird way, the most enjoyable things. More from a work point of view, in that golf has for once been front and centre. Jump.
It's your goal. It's your goal. I'm just moving from there to there. You still have to move. You have to move a piece.
Oh my God.
Did you watch any of the match, by the way?
The match?
Yeah.
I did, yes. It was on Eurosport.
It was, yeah.
Golf
yeah.
was on Eurosport. I'm tuning in. Come on.
Was your man Archie McPherson, doing the commentary?
No, he wasn't. They had the US commentary. It was entertaining. It was late night golf in the darkness, floodlit.
Why was that?
TV,
Something else.
American TV viewing. So it's, what was it, Friday night or Saturday night? Saturday night entertainment as
Yeah.
it was that night. Justin Thomas is quite entertaining at that, as Liverpool equalise. Fabio Carvalho with the equaliser. Darwin Núñez had hit the post just a couple of minutes ago.
Look, there's no need even talking about this match. Everybody knows Caoimhín Kelleher is playing. It's going to a penalty shootout.
Penalties yet again.
A few things will happen in the next 120 minutes.
Like, golf gave us some of the craziest, without question, the craziest quotes of the year. Graham McDowell, let's not forget, gave us the ultimate description. Has there been a bigger loser in sport this year, in Irish sport, than Graham McDowell? Like, he has taken an almighty battering. For somebody who was just a very, I don't know if anyone ever had particularly strong opinions on him, but just seen as very likeable, happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, he was. Around the time he won the US Open, the year before and the year after that, Graham McDowell was a pretty big deal in Irish sport, I would say.
He said, if Saudi Arabia want to use the game of golf as a way for them to get to where they want to be, and they have the resources to accelerate that experience, I think we're proud to help them on that journey. That is sports washing in 2 sentences.
There was plenty of it, and there was 2 days of it from McDowell, but he hasn't, he answered questions for the week that people were asking questions about this, and they stopped. And Live Golf, as Joe pointed out last week, Live Golf has become about, the sanctity of the PGA Tour, rather than anything to do with Saudi Arabia.
Can I say jump
sports
now?
washing.
Don't worry about it. I'll do it anyway.
Okay, thanks. 3-3.
It's gripping.
This is a gripping game.
It looks
we need to
pretty
change
even.
the camera
Arthur,
angles
again, I
here.
need your analysis here, right? So this
Like,
is
are
a
you
game
confident?
analysis. This is like, in the match, for example, where you can...
Oh, I'm going to be mic'd up and talking.
Yeah, so what I'm asking you here now is, right, this to me, the untrained eye, you've both taken 3 pieces, your pieces are largely in the same place. What's your confidence level? You've seen him play now for a few minutes.
But what my point is, right, and it's we'll get serious. We'll want to treat this serious. For any aspiring drafts players out there,
Draft only.
see this little triangle.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was key to keep that.
Okay.
If you keep that in there, you're very hard to beat. You see this?
Yeah, all over the shop.
No triangle.
Right, yeah.
He's
No,
just emptied that
no
out.
structure whatsoever, I would say.
That's just
yeah.
empty there. That's like a pyramid.
Triangle can't stay there
So
forever.
does that mean you've room to jump to...
We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's,
We will.
What's your
Game will
confidence level?
develop.
Come on, 1 to 100. You're
I'm
refusing.
still
to answer.
100. Like, maybe 99. To allow room for whatever could happen, like 99.
I thought there was no room for
It
anything
was
could
100
happen.
years was the initial
Yeah,
comment.
wow.
I'm loving this. Okay.
Um,
What's next? Live golf.
Leona Maguire's season. I'm
You
running
can't
through
just do
all the
golf.
I'm just running through all the golf for starters.
Right, yeah.
First Irish woman to win on the LPGA Tour.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago now. It's all the way back in February. She's not going to get to defend either because the course was destroyed in the bad weather on Florida about a month ago.
Oh, that's a pity.
So the tournament won't be happening next year, so she won't get a chance to defend. 2023 is going to be huge because you have the Solheim
Yes.
and then the Ryder Cup a week after. Leona Maguire is definitely going to be on the Solheim Cup team. Shane Lowry, Rory McIlroy, Seamus Power are all going to be on the Ryder Cup team.
James Power's going to be on the Ryder Cup team?
I think it's
You'd be confident?
all but nailed on with the way he has started the season. The other two are guaranteed. There's 7
Started
names
the
who will-
season. Sorry, are we in a new season now?
Yes. So Seamus Power's already won on the tour this
Yeah,
season.
I just thought that
so
was last
that's
season.
no, that's this season. But it puts him on top of the world points list. Like
So
there's such
anything
a
after the FedEx is the new
gets
season.
him into the world points list for the Ryder Cup. selection for Europe. It's ridiculously complicated. But also, there's not a great depth there. He's inside the top 30 in the world. He's going to play in all the majors. Like, it was a bad team last year, and it may not be a great team this year, but America don't win on European soil.
Let me come back to Leona, okay? Because last year it was an insane year where it was like Leona Maguire's year going up against Rachel Blackmore, going up against, I can't even remember, right? It was just an insane list of achievements. I feel that this year is as strong as it, but she didn't have a Solheim Cup. She didn't win a major. Unbelievable achievement to win the LPGA Tour, and her star is so on the rise. I don't know how she kicks into your 10 moments of the year, even as a super golf fan. I feel like there's so many more Irish sporting achievements that just sort of like...
Trying to bring something different from last night.
So you're not actually picking, you're just trying to...
Well, otherwise we're just going to have repeat of Wednesday night show. But I think you're right, and funny, I think Seamus Power would fit into a similar conversation in that he's almost the reverse. I still feel Seamus Power could walk down Grafton Street this evening.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Whereas this time next year, if he plays on a European Ryder Cup team that wins and he plays a big role in that, suddenly you're a superstar, because the Ryder Cup and the Solheim are by far and away the two biggest events in golf. They're not the most important by any stretch. Yeah. But the 3 days of the Ryder Cup is even bigger than a major championship in terms of the, I guess, your floating sports fans' perception.
Arthur's broken his triangle there.
Yeah.
But it still looks quite secure.
Oh, you say that. He didn't expect that to happen.
Well, he would have to move at some point.
Eventually, at some point.
Otherwise, what's he going to use to jump here? Can I make a bit of a tangent there, right? Pádraig Harrington said something really interesting on the Golf Weekly interview. Were you on that? You weren't?
No.
But did you listen to it?
I did.
It was just a throwaway comment about form and about peaks, and how Harrington was adamant, Arthur, if you didn't hear it, that like everybody has their peak, even Tiger Woods. Like, but his peak was like winning every tournament he turned up in for 2 years, but everybody only has this. But he said something about like Philip Walton, that everything in his career was to play in the Ryder Cup, and then once he achieved that, he almost wasn't able to hit a ball anymore. And I know that's kind of like evident by the trajectory of his career, but it's obviously interesting to hear somebody who knows him saying it straight out. But I don't know if we realise sometimes the amount of how big a deal it is for a golfer, especially at a certain level, to like make a Ryder Cup team, and how much pressure that brings, and how much achievement that fulfills, and so on. I thought that was one of the more interesting things I heard in an interview this year.
There is something different, though, I think, with Irish people in the Ryder Cup. Like, even Shane Lowry is talking about next year. His sole aim.
You don't think they have that in the UK?
Not quite as much. Now, obviously, they've had some of the best Ryder Cup players. They just love that team environment. Now, I think Lowry is talking about it also in a realistic way of, he knows if he's at the Ryder Cup, he'll have had a good year anyways.
Yeah.
So he'll have had to have had a decent amount of results and been in form to get his place there.
I think Lowry's a level above here, like than what we're talking about, though, isn't he? Like,
he's gone to a whole lot of... Well, Lowry's had his best every year in terms of sheer consistency, and he won a huge tournament, held off Rory McIlroy at Wentworth.
Yeah.
So third in the Masters.
Tangent out of the way. The reason I bring up the Owen Maguire again isn't to even bring up, like, I think in a normal Irish sporting year, or in a sporting year of many years ago, double take by Arthur. I haven't seen one of them in many's a long year.
That was big.
Nathan's in trouble here.
Wow, this is not going well.
In a normal year, I think something like, continuing her rise and winning on the LPGA Tour would be a bigger deal. But I was just going through this last night when we were doing this. The achievement of Irish sports people this year has been unbelievable. You look at the top 10, the people who were nominated for the OTB Sports Person of the Year. You think that we have a world champion in gymnastics. We had an unbelievable performance in the European athletics, and something that we haven't done in like such a competitive field, and something that we haven't done in a long, long time. 2 medals in that. You look 5 medals and 3 gold medals in the European women's boxing. You have Katie Taylor being undisputed best in the world. You have Rory McIlroy as world number 1, competes in all 4 majors, and you have Paula Donovan and Fintan McCarthy dominating the world of lightweight rowing, in so much so that them winning another world championship barely raised an eyebrow. It's like the domination is unbelievable. I don't know if it's an incredible place. I feel like I'm missing something there in that list as well. And forgive me if I am, but It's just off the top of my head. We actually are in such... I don't know if we've collectively kind of come to terms with the fact that
we're good at
compared to where we were 5, 10, 15 years ago, there seems to be an unbelievable high achievement in Irish sport at the moment.
It can't just be a freak either. It can't just be that all these athletes have come along at the same time.
It might be.
I do want, but I wonder, can you look at what's gone on out in Abbottstown at the National Sports Campus, and every time you go out there, and generally it's out for some FAI press conference or something, but there's a new building and there's new pitches. And I was out there recently with like a under-9 team that you can rent it on a Saturday morning, and they've got 2 huge indoor arenas. One of them is for the rugby team that they use for both the men's and women's and the development squads, and the other then seems to be a sort of GA soccer, whoever you want can rent it out. But the indoor athletics track has everything you could possibly need. Like, the investment that's gone on out there is huge. And also when you talk to the athletes, actually everybody training together from the different codes, sitting, eating together, learning off each other. Like, there has been, obviously there's always an awful lot more that can be done, and we need more Abbottstowns around the country. But there has been a huge investment in athletics and an awful lot of those sports.
Yeah, that's interesting. But even in team sports, like if you look at like the rugby team are number 1 in the world. We haven't even mentioned them. You know, they beat New Zealand this year. The women's team qualified for a World Cup. I don't think that was expected. I don't think we thought they were at that place in their journey, but they absolutely deserved to do it in the end. And even in something like, you know, we think of Gaelic football as insular and don't think of that achievement, but you look at, we talked about the quality of the All-Ireland final in football especially. You look at this Limerick team in hurling, you look at David Clifford's individual performances. I don't know. I feel like we're at a whole different level of quality
just not getting
at the moment.
better in general.
Yes, maybe it is, yeah. But we're not being left behind, which I think is probably a good thing.
Another one I had that I don't think was mentioned, Roger Federer's retirement.
That's kind of been coming for a long time.
No, but the day he retired at that Laver Cup, when he's sitting there holding hands with Rafa Nadal.
Yeah.
That was as a moment of the year.
The two of them are in floods of tears.
They've been too chummy for a long time.
They've been too chummy for a long time. The two of them are bawling, crying.
It's not. That felt quite not. It wasn't staged. I wouldn't say that much. Like, I think it was sincere.
It wasn't staged. It was sincere.
It wasn't. But it was set up for such a thing to happen. I don't think it was the most. It wasn't the great organic moment.
You mean that they set up so they played some sad music at the right time?
No, but they know they're going to be there. They know they're going to be on camera. They know, you know, it's all.
I thought it was just. This is the two greats together holding hands. When do you ever see that?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing.
Well, you see it in other sports like that. Like, you'd see similar sort of, maybe not to that degree, but you'd see similar shows of sort of affection in the likes of snooker or in, you know, all these one-on-one sports. If there's you know, it's hard to, there's not many rivalries that equate to that, but like, it was very notable, say, in the snooker when Ronnie O'Sullivan passed out Stephen Hendry, that Stephen Hendry was very magnanimous, and he was on commentary when it happened, obviously passing out his record, outstanding number 1, and, you know, essentially, essentially to that point of, like, you know, that there's no shame, and this is, if it had to be anyone, that kind of thing, that this is a great way to pass on the torch. So I don't think it's that.
Actually, Ronnie O'Sullivan, when he won the World Championship, I think people have forgotten, had this amazing moment where he went over and like hugged and whispered at Judge Trump's ear for about 25 seconds. It was the longest like half minute of all time, where you're just like waiting for him to break the embrace. It's really strange. Nothing really to do with any of the points that you're making. It was just something I was reminded of.
If you really want to go off on a slight tangent from Ronnie O'Sullivan, so Ronnie was nominated for Sports Personality of the Year. Myself and Arthur were doing a long deep dive into Sports Personality of the Year. We definitely need to go to ads. And the first ever winner, who I'm going to tell you about right after ads. Where are we with this game? Is it my go or your go?
Again, yes.
Okay, so you're winning 5-4. See, you're doing all the right things. You're sticking close to the sides. I feel like I'm in trouble.
He's dominating one side of the board.
I'm in trouble. Okay, I'll take this, and then we're going to take an ad break. It's Manchester City 1, leaving Arthur with the slight advantage. Though maybe he doesn't, I don't know, but he's talking a good game, which is the most important thing. He's just moved his black between my two whites and set me up now to want to move that white, which would then put me in a very delicate position. This is giving me a headache trying to
move that white. There's nowhere to go
at the same time. I'm talking about this white, so I can open up that space. Not you, me.
Oh, okay, off you go.
It's difficult enough to explain this on the radio. 53106, the text number. It's City 1, Liverpool 1. But Kevin Keller's just made a brilliant save from Ilkay Gundogan. City have been the better team, definitely, but there's been loads of chances. It's been really entertaining. This in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup. We've gone off on a Thursday night slight tangent of, do you know who Christopher Chataway is, Michael?
Was he an Arctic explorer?
No.
Antarctic?
No. He was the first ever winner of Sports Personality of the Year back in 1954. So he was a runner, an athlete, BBC Sports Personality of the Year. Went to the Helsinki Olympics in 1952, 5,000 metres, always going well until the last bend, and he basically bottled it and stumbled and ended up finishing 5th.
Called himself the Sports Personality of the Year.
Then he went on to get a job with Guinness. Just at the time, Sir Hugh Beaver set up the ideas of the Guinness.
I'm laughing at that.
Come on, mate.
Sir Hugh Beaver.
Oh, lads.
This was already an hour that may get us fired before the new
mentioned
year.
him earlier.
I didn't, sorry. It was only when I read it out I realised where the issue may arise. He was the guy who came up with the idea for the Guinness Book of Records. So, our friend,
I thought
Mr.
Guinness
Chataway,
Book of Records was nothing to do with Guinness, the drink.
He was of Guinness and he came up with the idea for the Guinness Book of Records. And then Chataway got his 2 friends to be the first editors. So then he continued running. So that's just a little tangent even on him. When Roger Bannister ran the first sub 4-minute mile in 1954, Chataway was his pacemaker.
Okay.
Then goes on to finish 2nd in the 5,000 metres at the European Athletics Championships in 1954. And then he set a world record of 13 minutes 51.6 seconds on a televised event. It was televised on the Eurovision network, so everyone saw this all over Europe the same year. And that won him BBC Sports Personality of the Year ahead of Roger Bannister.
Who broke on the same year? Broke
the same year. Roger Bannister came 2nd.
That's ludicrous.
This guy's the most interesting life of all time. From there, he went to work as a newsreader on ITN, stayed there a couple of years before going to the BBC, working on Panorama, stayed there for a couple of years, became a Conservative politician. In his maiden speech in the Parliament, he expressed the hope that the English cricket team would refuse to play a tour in apartheid South Africa, a highly unusual opinion for a Conservative.
That doesn't sound like the most interesting life of all time.
Oh, no, he went on from there and he was head of the Civil Aviation Authority, president of the Commonwealth Games. I'm just saying that this guy, how did this guy win Sports Personality of the Year ahead of Roger Bannister?
I don't know. They really like middle distance runners in England, don't they?
They love their athletics for their Sports Personality of the
poor
Year.
old Roger Bannister. Wow.
Even Muirhead came 3rd last night for curling. Ronnie O'Sullivan didn't even come in the top 3.
It's a bit passé, isn't it?
It's your go, Nathan, yes.
For the BBC Sports Personality of the Year on a Wednesday for some reason.
Well, I think because the World Cup final was on Sunday, I assume.
Yeah, I used to really enjoy it. I thought the review of the year was brilliant. The awards were good all the way through. Now it's just whatever. I
feel like I'm in a spot of bother here.
You've been in the same spot of bother since it started. Give us your next one so we can talk about it while you're trying to pick up your...
do I go for the obvious ones then? Another one that stood out.
Oh,
you're familiar with
King.
Oh, no. Yeah. How did that happen?
Because I got into the last line.
I didn't even see that happen. He might have cheated there. Can we get a replay?
I saw him doing it. I'm the official commentator.
I'm in serious trouble now.
Yeah, so now he can move both ways. I believe for the people who don't know the rules of draft.
He did that.
Nothing nefarious.
Okay.
Just
so you can go whatever way you want.
Yeah, with that one, yeah.
I boxed myself into a very, very, very bad corner.
We've only got about 15
minutes. Any more
minutes
sporting
left
moments there you want to...
Ireland 3, Scotland 0. Michael Obafemi's goal. Felt at that stage as though we were sort of through the 2-year teething problems for Stephen Kenny and everything was going to go swimmingly. Like, the quality of the goals that day was unbelievable. Packed house, beautiful evening.
Yeah, it was a good night.
Obafemi's assist for Troy Parrott. Your patronising tone towards all my selections.
Oh, there's no patronising. I don't mean it towards you. I'm trying to consider what you mean. I think it was a good night. There were great goals. There was the Obafemi interview afterwards was brilliant. I'm finding it very hard to be enthusiastic about the Irish team.
What are you enthusiastic about?
Everything. I've just listed off how great Irish sport was at the moment. The only team that wasn't mentioned was the Irish men's soccer team.
There we go.
They're struggling,
They get their
and it's a scary prospect.
Jump me.
So that was the one. That was a.
That's sly.
So sorry.
The All Ireland hurling final. I heard you talking about the Munster final.
Yeah.
I wasn't at the Munster final, but I was at the All Ireland hurling final, which I thought was a brilliant game. Though I never fully believed that Kilkenny were ever going to win it.
Really?
No.
They were very in the game. I would
Got
say,
level
yeah.
at one stage, wasn't it?
They did, yeah.
I never felt they were going to win it either. Yeah,
I felt like they were going to win it.
Yeah, well, I think there's the nervousness there of a scared fan.
That's about to happen here.
Archer's double jumped with the king.
Oh,
It's over now.
It's as good as done.
1, 2, 3,
It's
4,
done.
5,
There's
6,
no
7,
way
8,
back from this.
8-3.
I'd be safe enough to declare here, I'll be honest with you.
No, declare. You can quit if you want. Is it not underestimated as a final? Like the quality of Gearóid Hegarty's goal.
That's the pickup with the pickup in stride. It was the back of the hurley. I think gets a lot of the coverage on that. He just made a silly move, has he?
It won't work. No, it won't work. It won't work. Sorry.
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay.
What were you going to do?
No, I won't tell you.
But the fact that
That'd be uncouth.
it was the fact that he saw it and without almost breaking stride, jumped in between two players, picked up the ball and buried it. The most top corner goal you will ever see as well, by the way. Neither of these are listening to me, by the way, now, because we're down to the... Nathan is trying to survive. I don't know what to do here because we're on national radio and I'm waffling on about Gearóid Hegarty's goal.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I was obviously had a vested interest in it, so I don't see it that way. It was just kind of, I would have taken a procession. But there is something satisfying, I think, when it comes out the right end of a game like that, where
especially against Kilkenny.
Oh, no,
And
the
don't
fact, yeah,
forget
but that's, yeah, that
I was at the semi-final, obviously, as a Clare supporter, and Kilkenny were magic that day. There's another two gone.
It's over.
Nathan has
It's
one
over.
left. Do you want to just
There's no way I can
concede?
move. There's no way I can move.
Yeah.
No, I let him have the glory.
Okay, well, just move then and let it be done.
the glory.
God damn
Right,
it.
so
Right,
Arthur
that's it.
won. His prediction came true. He has...
That's a resounding.
Crushed.
You have 4 of his pieces.
Yeah.
I think that's better for... I haven't played drafts in,
Neither.
20
He hasn't
years.
played it since he was 12.
Well, he says that. He's at a secret society on a
Do you
Tuesday
play it when you
evening.
go home at Christmas?
Oh no, me. I
You and
play.
your
I
sister.
play with Erica, my partner. She's interested. She's interested in it.
Right, okay.
See, you never mentioned that.
They're practicing
What
at
difference
home
does it
every
make
night.
how often I play it?
Well, I think it makes a massive difference to any sport.
How do you stop?
Yeah, but sure, like, I mean,
Well done.
practice is very important in any
We'll never
sport.
do that again.
Well done. No, I think...
Please God,
I don't
man.
think that'll,
Please God, that's the truest thing you'll ever say. Anyway, the All-Ireland Hurling Final. You had your personal experience being there is probably what lifts that up for you.
Yeah, well, we did a show that morning from down in the Guinness Storehouse, and we had Kieran Carey there, and we had Eddie Brennan, and I brought my young lad who'd never been to a hurling final, he'd never been to an All-Ireland final before, and it was just, remember, it was like 30 degrees. It was insanely
crazy.
warm. So
It's
we
the
had
middle of July.
brilliant morning down at the Storehouse doing the show. Then Eddie Brennan gave me a lift up to the game. I was like, this is as good as it gets. It's just like me, not a hurling man, but one of the greatest players of all time, just giving you his thoughts on the game. I was trying to tell my son without embarrassing Eddie, going, just listen up and tell people about this in 50 years that Eddie Brennan brought you to your first ever hurling final. And then just went in and he thought it was like the greatest day of his year. Wasn't quite sure about hurling. Likes to play it a bit, but wouldn't be big into watching it. Loves TJ Reid now. Loves Gearóid Hegarty. And just because it was right in the balance, even though I never truly believed that Kilkenny were going to do it. Yeah, it was just a very, very good day.
Yeah, I think it has been forgotten is the wrong word, but it probably is a final that hasn't been given its due, I would say. You know, it was a very good game. Like Limerick winning 3 in a row, by the way, as well, is a remarkable thing. You know, and I think you get used to teams and you come to expect them to win. I remember talking about them in the league when they weren't hurling well, and there was a sense of like, look, Limerick are by far and away the best team in the country. They will win. I felt they come back to the pack a little bit this year, but then that's even better. Then that's more of that is them showing mettle and going out and getting it done when Clare put it up to them, when Galway put it up to them. Very much so in the latter stages of that game, and when Kilkenny put it up to them again, you know, and they won all those games. They eked them out, you know, and
without arguably their best player.
With it, very important. I mean, I think we've glossed over that as well. Another thing with a great team is that people feel like you can afford to lose someone like Keane Lynch, but there's no team could afford to lose Keane Lynch, you know. So, yeah, I mean, for a Limerick to win 3 in a row is beyond comprehension for someone putting themselves even 10 years back in time.
Yeah, there's probably the feeling it might not have had the same sense of that, is that the last 2 were kind of, there was only a quarter of the crowd that could have been there, if you know what I mean, which kind of, you didn't have the same sort of sense of event around those last 2, that it wasn't a real big coronation. Obviously everyone was still watching, but I suspect that was partially it. Also Peter Casey not properly back either, which is, there'll be some addition. Like, it's ridiculous. It's they should kick on, and it should be better again next year, you'd think, all going well. I mean, no one, I know Barry Hennessy's retired, but nobody else in that starting 15, kind of in around that 16, 17 even, is gone. They're all 1 year older, 1 year better. I mean, you see the likes of, I know TJ Reid's a different, he could be quite unique, but you do see how far into their careers these players are going as well. Like, it's...
Yeah, I feel like you can have 2 or 3 from a group that can go to 34, 35. It doesn't happen with... It's always the same. It always only happens with 1 or 2, and the others just don't make it.
Yeah.
But, like, much you say, like, there's almost another 3 years, I would say, left in the entire group.
For sure.
You know, or the vast majority anyway, you know, maybe 1 or 2. And then there's another 3 or 4 of them that might go another 6.
Yeah.
You know, and then, but it's also, they're regenerating. Like, I mean, the Limerick underage teams, without necessarily, like, forget about winning actual medals, they're as strong as any other team that are coming through, you know.
Well, there's less questions about Limerick going into the season than anybody else. And not just because of the champions. Like, it's not as if you look at any of the chasing pack and go, all they need is a little bit of a step up. There's been so many changes at all the other counties.
Do you know what? It's such a good point. There's no even movement or conversation about even like a big backroom team. It's like, Paul Kinnerk, right? Fine. Like, Paul Kinnerk could go and be a manager somewhere, but obviously this is the role that he wants. This is the role that he loves. John Kiley is there. That's a team that works well. But even going further down, like Caroline Curd has worked with so many different counties and so many different sports teams over. But it's like, well, she's just part of that team now. There's no sense of like, I've done my time, I've done my work there, let's go somewhere else or anything like that. It's just, it's
She's got more time now. She's left her role with Munster.
Yeah, it's an incredibly settled
it is
situation.
And I don't know what'll happen then when that does. Someone will have to walk away at some point, and you kind of think if they do it this year, grand, that'll be 4 in a row. The 5 in a row would be kind of, nobody could walk away from that. Everyone would want to try that, but one way or another.
Starting to want them to lose now, are you?
No, but afterwards.
Oh, I mean, outside of you, like.
But beyond that, so like if you take, say, then 2024. This time in 2024, it could be a completely different complexion altogether. You know,
this is a different man from the man who sat here the week before the All-Ireland final and couldn't even talk about it when they were going for 3 in a row.
For that. This is to bring listeners in. They'll look, read Arthur's book, and there's a lot of good personal stuff in there about your journey. But the actual, your 2022 journey was just one of, like, I would say agony. I don't know what enjoyment you get out of it. You're the whole week you were just worried about the match. I love it. I love that intensity in sports fandom. You know what I mean? And you were like, God, like, it's just like, I was like, are you looking forward to the match? She's like, no, of course I'm not looking forward to it, because what if they lose? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like
but there's no assurances. It's not like, I think if you were from, say, Dublin or Kerry with
they'll be
football,
back again.
You know they'll be back again.
Yeah.
Your concern is that this is the generation, and when it drops off, it may be gone for another 10 years.
I mean, nobody would have put it that, so when they win that All-Ireland, whatever it was, the 6th in 1940, no one's thinking that between 1940 and up until 2018 they're winning 1. You know what I mean? Like, it just wouldn't have been, it would have been unthinkable. But now, I mean, look, the reality of it is, when you look at the actual roll of honour with these things, Tipperary, Cork or Kilkenny have held Liam McCarthy for, I think it's something like 2/3 or 3/4 of all the time that the Cup has existed, or the competition, it's been in one of those 3 counties. So, I mean, to overturn that is...
For anybody outside of that to do a 3 in a row, 4 in a row, whatever it ends up being for Limerick, is like, you know, that's all. And it's why I think a lot of, like, so Clare and Limerick, say, for example, would have a huge rivalry. And it would, like, I mean, in some parts of Clare that would be enmity, as to borrow Sherlock Nann's term. But it wasn't to be for me. It was tip for us. But there's also just a separate point, whereas, like, when you're a hurling fan, but you're not from Tip, Cork or Kilkenny, there is a sort of a us against them attitude, and there's a kind of there's a kinship there, even if it is a rivalry, even if the fans, when they go to the matches, hate each other. And I won't tell you what the Limerick fans were calling Ennis when I was there this year.
I don't think we need to think too long.
But you know, I do think that there's definitely this kind of kinship of, like, you know, it's like you're doing it for the rest of us because somebody has to stop the dominance of 3 counties over everybody else. It's always the same with Galway when they get into a place. Or I think there's a sense that people would like to see a Waterford breakthrough come at some point as well. You know,
That's the one I don't want.
is it?
It's so
Waterford
small
breakthrough.
time. It's so small time.
Why?
Just don't know. Just don't. There's something about it. I just don't.
I
want
think
that.
you'd enjoy it if it happened. I do,
I
because
don't.
I think the outpouring of emotion if Waterford won the All Ireland would be second only in GEA to if Mayo finally did it.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like Waterford to win it just because
They'd be
then there'd be nobody left.
it'd be just Mayo on their own. Yeah.
We'd look like complete lunatics. At least Waterford people, you go, well, look, they go through the same
Because
emotion.
even Galway in 2017, it hadn't been as long, but it had been 6 or 7 finals. Like the numbers were comparable. It obviously hadn't been as long or anywhere close to it from 88 versus 51. But Galway got over the hump. There was a saga ended there, and it was like, you know.
There's a wildness to the end of famine,
Yeah.
that you just don't get with, as you say, those bigger counties. Obviously, it's not about 4 in a row; it's about 5 in a row. I heard Ruby say it on the Sports Awards on Saturday night.
Yeah.
He said, "For me, greatness is 5 in a row."
You were wondering about that.
To the Limerick lads.
I mean-
who I can tell are a bit like.
It's like we've just done this. We've just broke our arse to win 3 All Irelands in a row, and you're asking us nearly to double it again before we can be considered great. We have to do
lads.
2 more.
Other highlights, an obvious one from 75 minutes on in the World Cup final, as good as football gets.
I left out the World Cup last night, but it was ludicrous because it was just because of proximity, you know. But like the World Cup final, I think you're right. I
don't watch games back. I don't think anyone has time to watch games back when there's another game right around the corner. But on Sunday night, I sat down and from 75 minutes on, watched it again. And the amount of things that happened even then that I had just completely forgotten about. From obviously the Messi shot at the end of 90 minutes, but Mbappe's dribble out on the left-hand
Arthur was
side.
talking about this on Monday night. It was like the last thing we talked about before we went home because we'd forgotten about it all day.
I heard the debate about Mbappe's goal. Is it the greatest goal of all time or World Cup? Like, obviously it's neither, even if it has the context of being in a World Cup final. But if he had scored that, like, it is up there alongside, because also it's up there alongside Maradona against England. But he had in his head the second he got it, I'm going to score the goal here to win us the World Cup final.
It was a real Pac-Man route though as well, wasn't it? It was a strange dribble.
But it was, I'm not going to pass. I'm going to do this all on my own. And he actually had the chance, and he took one touch too many. But it was just,
And what would that have been? That would have been about a 15-minute hat trick
yeah,
to win a World Cup.
yeah.
Like, it would have been outrageous. Can you imagine the celebration? How it would have sparked? The bench cleared, everything. It would have been incredible.
You can also undermine penalties as part of a hat trick, right? And I know he got 2 of them, but Mbappe took the same penalty 3 times against the best penalty save in the, and by the way, Martinez made good efforts on 2 of them. You know,
There's
and
so
he
much
put the
pace in them.
same penalty down 3 times.
Yeah.
There's some balls in that, like, isn't there? To trust your technique so much that you're saying that this guy who can cover the ground better than any other goalkeeper on penalties, and I'm just going to put that into the side net and low and hard.
But his confidence, like basically telling the referee, come on, let's get on with it. Let's get on with it. I just want to hit this. I mean,
But you
I'm
see,
in a
even
rush.
Martinez in the shootout didn't start his antics until after Mbappe's penalty, because he was like, this is pointless. I'm going to be ready for Coleman, as it turned out that was coming up next, you know.
Last one, number 1.
Yeah.
Hampden Park, Ireland women's team qualifying for the World Cup for the first time.
Yeah. We actually didn't, this was on my list last night, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it because we were out of time, and it was kind of spoke for itself. But I think it is worth
Again, another
remembering
game
you were
that-
commentating on the game live from Hampden.
You just remember, obviously, the goal is the moment, but it was also an insane game of football.
Yeah.
Where Ireland, a lot of Ireland games have been quite dull and almost intentionally dull, and that's the way they want to play. And when they're playing against better teams, they just sit back as much as they can. Like, they give away a ridiculous penalty right at the start of the game, which the keeper saves from Scotland's best player. Megan Campbell scores from a throw-in.
Yeah. Megan Campbell's
from a throw-in.
throw-ins in that game in general.
I have
were
never seen
chaos.
anybody, as much as we like to compare to Rory Delap, I never saw Rory Delap actually throw one in that it missed. Maybe I've just never been replayed, but threw it in
Yeah.
from about 40 yards out over on the right-hand side. Missed
the Scottish defender,
absolutely everybody.
The Scottish defender had a real heads-up play there in that the last second just moved out of the way, not realising the rules. Like, yeah, that was...
There was this mad goal line scramble just before half-time where Scotland had 3 chances in the space of 5 seconds that somehow Ireland survived from. And then just the brilliance of the second half and how they went on from scoring the goal and how comfortable they were. And I just think the history of the night, like, it was just to be able to sit beside Emma Byrne, who, you know, was pretty much in tears for the last 15 minutes, and even talking to her afterwards, like, no, not a hint of jealousy of missing out on it, but actually being able to go, this probably wouldn't have happened if she hadn't taken the stand she had taken. And then been down pitch side afterwards, and the second Katie McCabe sees Emma Byrne, leaves her celebration she's at and comes sprinting across the sideline,
jumps into her.
Louise Quinn, Denise O'Sullivan, all of them do the same. And yeah, just it was obviously not a huge crowd. I think it was about 10,000. So it was organised 3 days beforehand, so there wasn't really an opportunity even for
Scotland
supporters
or
to go.
Celtic
were playing the same night, so it was just a nightmare for people to get there. So the only real Irish support were the families and the friends, and the bitterness of the Scots, because as brilliant as it was for Ireland, you forget that for Scotland this would have been a huge thing, to the extent that the celebrations had gone on about 10 minutes and all the Scottish security were trying to kick everybody out of the stadium already, trying to stop the players getting photos with their family.
Wouldn't be like the Scots to be bitter about a sporting event now. It's not like
magic.
them at all.
So I think that would be hard.
And what a goal. And I'm
but the goal was, even from Niamh Fahy's cushioned header, like the three centre halves that night have, I think we said a combined age of about 100. The three centre halves, each of them have about 100 caps as well, in Diane Caldwell, Louise Quinn and Niamh Fahy. Like, it's insane the experience.
Yeah, it is
there.
nearly 100. I think it might be 99 or 100. Yeah.
Is it two 34-year-olds and a 33-year-old, or two?
Niamh Fahy's 35. Louise, I think, is 32. And yeah.
There could be
anyway,
at least. I wouldn't say
Anyway, look, we don't have to make a big deal
of it.
Doesn't
really matter. I think they're all doing all right.
But like Megan Campbell's throw was the last thing I'll say this, because I'd forgotten about it, so I'm now preoccupied with it again, because that night I was obsessed. It was like, I don't think I've ever seen, and I include Rory Lapp in this because he would cause chaos in a sort of a set piece way. Her throw-ins were continuously causing chaos for that entire match, especially kind of sort of 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes of the first half, first 20 minutes of the second half. It was just around that midpoint of the match. It was just everything. Every time she did something, it was like frantic lunacy.
I think her throw-ins are more destructive than Rory Lapp's, because it feels as though she can do them from even further out, like
way further out,
45 yards out.
An unbelievable trajectory on the ball,
So there you go, we got there. Fun. I don't even know if there was 10 there. I was distracted. I lost my game of drafts.
We were well beaten.
I don't know if I'll get a rematch.
No. No, I'm not doing that again. Come on.
I was more talking for the listeners' sake.
They don't need
it's 1-1 between Manchester City and Liverpool. It's been a cracking first half in the Carabao Cup. We'll have more on that on the football